You guys have absolutely no idea how long this has actually been sitting on my shelf in my studio, just beckoning and waiting for me to review it. I actually feel pretty bad about this because this is something that I was anticipating for a very long time, and for whatever reason I just never got around to it. And while I was looking at the schedule, I said, okay, let me move some stuff around because it's criminal for me not to have reviewed this by now. Now I realized that Thor Love and Thunder was not for everybody, and certainly it was a pretty divisive film, but as I mentioned before in the show, this was a movie that wasn't taking itself too seriously, and in many ways it was actually satirizing not only itself, but Marvel films, and all that kind of quirky, weird, almost cringy nonsense that happened in the film was by design. It was intentional, so there is that. Now, I think for those who had been reading the comics for a long time, Jane Foster's Mighty Thor was something that was anticipated in the MCU for a very long time. Could it have been executed a little bit better? Yeah and no. This is a very kind of interesting character. I think that there could have been several improvements to the show, but or the movie, I should say, but they went in the direction that they went into. Nevertheless, I think that the character design and Natalie Portman's version of Jane Foster's Thor was actually pretty amazing. And I mean, the girl was certainly dedicated to her craft because she got jacked for the role. So today we're going to be reviewing Hot Toys' version of Mighty Thor from Thor Love and Thunder, the 1/6 scale figure. Let's take a closer look. So if you're keeping score at home, you'll know that this is the second iteration of Natalie Portman in 1/6 scale. The first one, of course, being Padme. And I gotta tell you guys, this thing is absolutely beautiful. This is definitely Natalie Portman. Absolutely perfect recreation of what we see in the film. Countenance in the face is great. This is just her. But the thing that really impresses me is, of course, the sculpted hair. You guys know I don't like rooted hair. Look at how absolutely beautiful it is. The individual strands in the sculpt, of course the locks that go down by her head. Of course it does restrict the movement a bit, but my god, that is amazing. The paint job overall is really well done. This complements so well with the actual head sculpt. Beautiful. In looking at the midsection and upper torso of this piece, it's also very impressive. I love the color palette here because it is mooded and based in a little bit more realism in terms of the armor set. The golds offset against the red, the rouges, and the crimsons look very well done. One of the things that I have to remark on is the overall textures. I like what they did here. You see the classic Mighty Thor design with the circular buttons or whatnot, or toggles. I'm not exactly sure how to phrase them or what the nomenclature is. The skirt does not feel cheap. I know that other figures, it was very thin, but these are actually pretty pliable. Overall, this is a really well done job, and I have to say, the sculpt and the arms are done perfectly. Like I said, she got jacked for this role, and it looks great. The lower section of this piece is equally impressive, and I have to say that the trousers are very form-fitting. Where I find it very impressive is definitely in the armor sets, in the shin guard, and especially in the knees. They're done with a little bit more of a silver high polish. Now, I don't know, and I'm not sure because sometimes I misread these things. The ball joist system here is very stiff, but again, it is a new figure and it's been sitting, in the studio for a while. I'm not sure if it's as malleable, but again, it may just be some stiff joints. But so far, and I'm probably going to have to revisit this, but there is some malleability. I think there could be more, but it could just be stiff joints. But nevertheless, the ball system does work. And of course, she's packing Mjolnir, and we actually have two versions of this. Now, the overall design is beautiful. The finishes are done very well. You see the cracks in Mjolnir. The handle and the hilt look very well done, along with the actual leather, rope at the end of the hammer. The only thing I will say that I don't like about this hammer is that it feels very light, and it feels kind of cheap. There were other Thor figures, like legit Thor figures, that it was very dense. It was made out of metal. Unfortunately, this one isn't, and I think that was a mistake. Now, you don't necessarily have to run out and mirror this piece, especially because it has that kind of ugly thing in the back. But I will say this, I mean, look at the hair sculpt here. It's just freaking stunning. They did a lot in terms of the overall design for this hair sculpt, and it looks beautiful. But the downside is, of course, that it restricts the movement of the head, but this does come with the purse system, and I guess that kind of offsets it a little bit. The cape is actually very well done. I love the overall color palette here. It has this really nice wire mesh. The pleats and the folds are done very well. I've seen a lot of wired mesh capes in my time, and this is definitely the most pliable and the most options in terms of how you want to pose it if you want to get some epic poses. So I liked it a lot. Now, very similar to Star Wars figures who have just kind of like this elongated slab, the Marvel figures have the hexagonal base, which I think works perfectly. On the actual base itself, there's a lithograph that has this nice hammer or image of Mjolnir. It does read Thor, Love and Thunder, and on the lip of the base in bold white print, it does read Mighty Thor. Again, this is very well done, very minuscule footprint relative to the piece, I would say. And of course, the thing that I always like is that they can stand on the actual base, which is really good. So fortunately, you get an alternate head sculpt. I know that I had the one that was basically with the helmet off just because I wanted to see Natalie Portman's profile, but you also get her with the helmet on, which I think looks absolutely fantastic, and it really integrates well with the actual hair sculpt. Again, because it's sculpted hair, regardless of what version you use, it is going to restrict the movement, but the purse system is still there so that you can move the eyes independently, which I really like. Overall, it's just very well done. Now, you also get, and again, this is part of the exclusive version, is you get this version where the helmet is cracked, and yes, you can actually put it on the figure. I actually tried to test it, and it does fit very well. So it doesn't have like any gaps or any space in it, or there's no kind of like filler there. It actually fits pretty seamlessly. So when you put this on, you're going to have this option to display her with basically part of her helmet cracked, which I think was really cool and a nice accessory. Now, you do get another option or another version of Mjolnir, and this is the one that has the kind of like cracked version of Mjolnir, and it has a little lightning and particle effects. This thing is very long, and I have to say it's actually almost the entire length of the figure, and this is a 1/6 scale figure, so it's about almost I would say about 10 inches maybe. So this thing is actually pretty long, and it's another great accessory. Then you get also another lightning effect for the version of Mjolnir that's put together, so I think that's pretty cool. I just wanted to mention this and have this in the review. This is part of the little tool for the purse system, so we do get that as well. Seems like a small little thing, but when you're independently trying to get a pose and you're trying to move the eyes, this thing is invaluable, because trust me guys, I have gotten so many googly goofy eyes while trying to do this. There's definitely an art to this. And as always, rounding out the last bit of accessories are 4 additional hands for various poses. Now, you're not going to get too many epic poses with this. I think the most part is going to be the arms, because they're actually pretty elastic, and even though it's a full rubber body suit, the level of elasticity is there, so you're going to get some pretty nice poses. But again, because of the sculpt in the hair, you're not going to get too many dynamic poses, because you really can't move the head that much, regardless of whatever version you use. Now, I get it, not everybody liked Thor Love and Thunder. It's not for everybody. I understood what they were going for. Even if I understood what they were going for, they didn't have the greatest of success. Now, there are a couple of questionable things about this figure, namely Mjolnir. I wish that it was actually made out of metal. But other than that, this is a freaking awesome figure. It is a badass figure, and I'm definitely going to categorize it as a Holy Grail piece, because this thing has a lot of presence. Doesn't seem like it, but when it's sitting in front of you, you can't help but just admire how awesome this thing is. So if you are a fan of Thor Love and Thunder, if you like Natalie Portman, if you just think this is a badass character, definitely pick this one up. It is gonna start getting harder and harder to find. Alright everybody, so that's my official review on Hot Toys version of Mighty Thor from Thor Love and Thunder, the 1/6 scale figure. As always, I thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next Route Desert Reviews.